Well, hello. How are you? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. How'd you like that little segue in there, huh? Just listening to some of the songs of the 60s, that more quiet time. Welcome, everybody. How y'all doing? So good to see you. Wow, I was tuning in to the chat room prior to going live, and wow, great discussion. The title was metaphoric. You do know that, right? Not literal. But sometimes metaphors can actually become real. Give me 1 second, folks. I don't want this to be going off and disturbing us. This is an office, there's all, anyway. So hello everyone. Thank you for stopping in, Blazing River, and boy, see Glenn, Elizabeth, B13. I like that. Carol, good to see you. Robin, hello. Rebecca, greetings. Elizabeth, Amy, so good to see all of you. And Brian, Milky Way Weekly, be on his show tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Mountain, 7 p.m. And we won't forget you folks in the Central Time Zone. I guess that would be what? 9? Franny, so good to see you. Going to be emailing you how to talk today. Scott, how you doing? Good to see you. Jerry, how are you doing? Saw you the other night on Brian's channel. Joe Sapiens, how are you doing? Going to get Joe on here. Joe's written, I want him to come on a Friday night show and really get into what he has written. I think it's very insightful. So David Castle, good to see you. Greetings. Think agape love, peace. Hello. Brad White, how the heck are you? Sarah, good to see you. Ellen, Rebecca, okay. Lost in Space, I love that. God of Love, Master of love that. No pun intended, just came out that way. The abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Kenneth, how are you doing? Legend, real good to see you. Mystic Mama, love that, man. Great handle. Far out. I love that. Kind of speaks about it all, doesn't it? I love that. Jacqueline, great name, by the way. How are you? Wow, lots of people piling in. When we come into these moments, the internet is a medium. We have to remember that. It's a medium. Amazing how these woods, then these folks were thinking this stuff up. There was something else, involved in that room. I don't think it was seen, but it was definitely involved. So we get to channel. Well, there's another word. So we all tune into the same channel. Thus, we begin to channel together. And I think that may be, I don't know, might be how it is. I was up late again last night, and well, first of all, let me invoke favor upon each and every one of you. I speak abundant favor in your lives. And if you hear my voice, that it carry the frequency and the harmonics that bring those things into balance. Nothing missing, nothing broken in your lives. And may restoration come to all of us. So anyway, up late last night, and I'm thinking about this. Writing this book, and any one of you who have ever written a book, attempted to write a book, you have to do your research, and even fiction, you have to have it pretty well laid out. Hello, Warrior Queen. Lois, how are you doing? So good to see you. Sarah K, hello. Zaza Ban, hello as well. So Um, when we begin to think about who we are, you know, it used to kind of bug me. I wanted to know what my purpose was. Why am I here? What is the reason for all of that? I don't know. I don't know if you want to call it graduation, but it really doesn't matter. Those questions are what I call a dog chasing its tail. Um, yeah, we all go down that trail, so to speak, until we meet that dog. And, many get lost into that. They get wrapped up. Well, what is my purpose? What is the reason for me being here? Why? And there's nothing wrong with that. Why is the first step, I think, for wisdom. What does the first verse in Proverbs say? You know, to seek wisdom, you have to get wisdom. Well, that's always used to confound me. Well, what do you mean I have to? I'm seeking wisdom, so I have to get wisdom. All right. And I think we all know the symbol on that. So again, I've come to a point, and I would say it would be, I don't think it's a crossroads. Maybe it is, as much as it's an on-ramp to the upper deck. I don't think in medieval terms. I'm a 21st century mind. We don't travel down, roads per se, in the sense that, those before us did. And if you believe in reincarnation, then that means that those that lived before us that coined those phrases most likely are back here again. So did they coin the phrase now freeway? Because I think that that's relative, isn't it? I mean, if I'm going to use allegories, metaphors, idioms, axioms to describe what we live in, well, I would probably want to be more versed in using more appropriate terminology that we all can dig on. So it's like being on a free way. You ever thought about that? A free way? Wonder how that term came about. And then we graduated from a free way to a highway. Yeah. And it goes from there. So I think now I'm more of the mindset that, okay, I've got amnesia. I can accept that. It's just the way it is. I didn't write the rule book. Maybe I did. Who knows? I got amnesia. So, it could be anything, could be nothing. That's the great thing about having amnesia, if there is an upside to this. I'm not sure exactly where the upside actually comes from. But nevertheless, so I'm spirit. Okay. That I can absolutely, I don't need to rationalize it. I don't need to justify it. It just is. So I can now call myself more is than even I am. I am is I am. Yeah, there's a conundrum. By the way, Patrick is not feeling well. We're going to do the show tomorrow, Talking with Planets. He was going to come on, and I said, hey, my man, we all know, and I don't know the details, but if it's got anything to do with the stomach, anything to do with the intestine, yeah. So told him to rest the body. Let's see, Franny. I think our memories are wiped every time we dissolve the matrix control system of a false god. Yeah, Franny, I can see that. Hey, Cheesesteak, how are you doing? Good to see you. Um, the possibilities, become endless as to what the causes are. Um, and many a better mind than mine has no doubt tackled this conundrum. Um, well, thank you, FJ. Oh, well, thank you. The secret knowledge. Yeah. Guess what? You and I are now living what I remember because I left that open ended. We're living that secret knowledge right now. I think that that's just why we're growing. This is why we coming together. Um, we have a lot of minds that can't handle it. That's cool. But there's a greater percentages of us empaths. We're all coming. So, yeah. Yeah, I can dig that. Listen, the energy of the thought alone is cool. By the way, thank you, FJ, for bringing this to memory. I got a letter today from Holland. Um, and yes, to the person who wrote that, I did receive it. Very interested to hear more. And I don't think my mail is being screened. I don't know about my email, but I think the Express still delivers the mail unheeded. Although I did say that we had two packages that, not accusing the U.S. Postal Service of any nefarious things, but they didn't get delivered. They were empty boxes. I don't know. Just saying. And, you know, so starting this morning, I was out early and the chemtrailing. But today is different. Actually, I got a number of it on video. They're coming off the mountains and they're up there. These are big ones. Industrial tankers is what I call them. Got them. Anyway, I'll be posting that later. Uh, but it's almost like they're starting to dump right as they get, it looks like right over my house. And not one, not two, but it seems like there are a lot of them today that are starting to dump their loads right over the Front Range. And it seems like it's over my house, but what the heck? So, got some things. So, cheers to everyone. I understand why the gods forbidded sex. I can get why they got pissed off about that. But I think they got more upset when we said, what's that stuff y'all drinking? You don't need any of it. And one of us came around and, got a sip of this and said, oh, yeah. That's what I feel about tea. I guess I could feel the same thing if I liked beer. I don't know. Was a time I used to drink beer. I just don't have the taste for it anymore. But in any case, I digress. All right. So let's get right into this subject matter. This is a metaphor that I was using because here's the question, folks. I'll put it to the audience, all of you who will be listening to this, all of you who are in the chat room. So, dealing with this immortal spirit, soul, it's amazing how we still can't define what the soul is. But nevertheless, let's just say for this debate, the soul exists. I still say I think the spirit is without soul until soul because I think soul acts as the interface. I think spirit stays in the spirit realm, and the interface that spirit is experiencing is because of what we call the soul, personality, emotions, and the brain. I don't know if the brain is transferred at death over into the spirit realm, or if the brain, again, is just merely a capacitor and a relay. And we know they're pushing science, medical science, to the point now where we know we can keep a brain. We've done it with a pig for days by feeding it electrical shock. So kind of really brings in this whole thing. What's really driving the brain? I mean, if the brain can be stimulated after what would be called a natural death, the question that we don't know, well, thank you, Hadley. Good to see you from Cape. Is that Brington? Is that right? I Station Z. Good to see you. So, I mean, is that spirit? I have no doubt that in some freaking lab somewhere, the experiments have been going on. Can you reanimate a human brain? And if you can, through that reanimation process, is the spirit brought back into, or should I say, the soul? I don't know. I've been thinking about this and meditating in my sleep on this, and I'm apparently shaking up something up there. I've been sleeping like really deep. I mean, deep, 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 but I digress again. How do we look at this then? So does the soul occupy the brain? I mean, at some point you have to say, well, where does personality reside? Does spirit have personality? It's a good question. I think it does. I think merely what we may be seeing down here in this physical plane is a mere representation of the other plane that we all really do exist in. And I think that's a spiritual plane that we can't define. For some reason, we get lost down here. And then when we think about black holes, and we're going to get into that in a second here, but here's the thing. I asked myself, I said, I've been reading this book, and as you know, some of you really are getting where I'm coming with on this. We're going to do a whole podcast on, folks, I think that we can see, I think we have this ability. We have been duped, and I think by a suppressing force field emanating in electromagnetic frequencies that we're just now beginning to discover, that our eyes have a greater ability to see than what we think we can see. There was back in the 60s, there was a science fiction B-rated movie. But anyway, in that movie, the guy, he was an ophthalmologist, and being that was the time of the Cold War, the nuclear bombs were going off. Anyway, he found something in his medicine that he was working with, and it got radiated somehow. Anyway, yeah, I saw that reality, not fiction. Go ahead and show that, folks. The head transplant. Can you imagine that, volunteers? But anyway, and so he put these drops in his eyes, right? Well, when he did, he saw the full spectrum. X-ray eyes, he could see all that. but it continued on, and it eventually drove him insane. I wonder how much that is probably true. We know we're going to talk about, what 5G is doing. It's everywhere now. And we're seeing people freak out everywhere now. I don't know. So getting back to this whole thing, spirit. Are we actually spiritually immersed into this physical plane? And here's my question for the day. Does evil exist beyond Earth? If so, is death a constant throughout the universe? I mean, is death the same death and relevant to someone that lives in a star system, say, 1 billion light years from here? Do they live and die? And if they die, where do they go? And here's a question that came to me. Would that imply then that death goes beyond this dimension and plane? We're reading the alien interview, and we get into these questions. Can we get to a point where we no longer need the bio bodies? I mean, these are questions you ought to see when I'm writing. I mean, we don't even begin to, I think, sometimes go beyond the limits of what we call credibility. And the thing about free thinkers is that you gradually begin to lose the biasness. The thing that we don't like to talk about, the bigotry, because we all have our prejudices. I mean, I think that it goes, but does death exceed? I often wonder, is there a death beyond the physical death? I mean, death is a constant in this plane. So I term this, I determined that this is not life. All the religious books, the Bible, the Quran, the Vedic, I could just go on and on and on. They got it wrong. This is not life. If life, again, is so finite that we can define it by decades, that's not life. I would far more rationalize it as death, a death experience, than a life experience, because that directly implies that what you're saying is that the death experience that awaits us all is more in hierarchy than the afterlife. Does death transcend into the afterlife? I don't think a spirit can be created nor destroyed. I believe we were around when it all began, if it all began. Infinity means no beginning, no end. I am spirit. I have personality. And don't you just love it? It's got personality. But anyway, I digress again. Folks, you've got to learn to laugh. So, I mean, sir, I look at this, and I can remember back in the 90s when I lived in Knoxville, Tennessee, and in my condo, I had one room that I was deeply immersed into what the known universe was moving into? If the universe is expanding, then what is it expanding into? How do you define that? Is that relevant? Is that something that the spirit can transcend what the physical universe is transcending into, which is defined as nothing? And if we are moving into nothing, then does that directly imply that nothing is where we all are? Think about it. Could the death experience just merely be an awakening that we just realize that that's just what we do? We're in the nothingness. Each and every one of us live our own individually crafted, created realities. And it's as much as a teenager experiencing adolescence, when the hormones are hitting you from every direction and your body just seems to be going out of control, that is the anticipation where we exist now for the opportunity to interact with others like us. Because in the true form of what we are, we can't touch, we can't feel. In fact, nothing else can exist around us. And thus, we immerse ourselves into these so-called planes, dimensions, existences. Just saying. Put your comments down. You know, I like it when people comment about the substance of what was said. And so oftentimes I know people like to have their voices heard. And you're each and every one of you. Again, I think that this is what we do. It's why we get bored. It's why I never got a tattoo. Number one, I hate needles. Can't handle that. Don't like blood. Can't handle that. And just the thought of a needle hit, nah. You know, listen, as a child, I endured enough pain for 5 to 10 lifetimes. And anyway, I digress on that. But that's why I would never get one, is that I would get bored. Because we all do get bored. Now, I find as I progress through this life, I get bored less and less. I've unlocked something that is neither constrained by time nor space, nor defined by time. And it gets weird at times. I have to say, we all know this. Anyway, you know, I think it's sometime we're all going to get this. Jeff and I were talking again on our Sunday show, and he brought it out. It's written in the New Testament. The pagan John, the disciple, he was a pagan. He knew. That was the thing. When you reach that point of your departure and you can say to yourself, screw this life. Had a great time, or I had a crappy time, whatever your position may be. But you know what? It's like, kiss my ass, man. I am out of here. Let's get on with this. You know, I'm going to do what Neo does. Bring it on. And as we know, because I got to tell you, in a lot of ways, this is a crappy matrix. Someone wrote me, and you're spot on with what you wrote. I'm going to do some reading of some of the better email that have been sent to me, because some of them are just fantastic. That many of us are waking up to this is a death experience. Everything in this experience is predicated upon death. Everything. There is no life. The life that's here is predicated on death as well. We have to eat things in order to live. That's a screwed up matrix right there. You got to eat something, kill it, cut it, harvest it, whatever you want to do in order to stay existent in here. And then the whole thing, look at what we have in our cities. Hell, you don't need the cities anymore. It's in the countries, out in the wide open spaces. People are turning on each other at a record amount. It's survival, baby. It's mine. I got to get what's mine, and the rest of y'all can kiss, etc. I mean, it's how it is. And the minute you come into this death realm, the only thing that we can be, I think, thankful about is that there's an exit. Now, what you do in between, that's between you and yourself. And then we come together like this. But, well, Peter, you have a good one, my friend. Be safe. Hello, Zora. How are you doing? In Red Herring Media, good to see you. I would love to see these types of things spoken about at universities, in political meetings. My God, could you imagine if someone stood up and started talking about the profound, real things from a politician? Hell, people would think it was the second coming. People be dying of heart attacks going, a politician told the truth? Oh my God, can you imagine a politician waking up and standing on the floor of the House of Representatives and says, folks, we got to stop playing these games. We're adding to this misery, to this death cycle. Does that make them agents of death? Had never thought about that. I know, I like stirring the pot. But hey, if you're going to make a good bouillabaisse, you have to stir the pot. We all knows what happens when it starts a thickening. Yeah. The end of Groundhog Day for all of us. I was just, who wrote that? I am all in one, Eon Sophia. Yeah. I actually said that to my wife. I quoted Ned. Remember Ned, the insurance guy? Anyway, I digress. So I got some articles I thought I would pull up for us all just to pontificate. So black holes, facts and theory. Listen, to start out today, some guy calls me a liar about black holes. Says, well, don't you know it's an electric universe? That's a theory, brother. Black holes are a theory. Now there's the plasma universe, which is the theory. Now, the interesting thing about what we are witnessing, we're witnessing something that we do know. I want to show you something. In 2014, astronomers found what appeared to be an intermediate mass black hole in the arm of a spiral galaxy. Astronomers have been looking very hard for these medium-sized black holes. We have seen some, I showed you how big some are, bigger than our whole solar system. Now, this is a great article, but what I really wanted to come down to is one of the things that I thought, I mean, they've made, I've read in books, textbooks. Anyway, if you fell into a black hole, the theory has long suggested that gravity, which we still can't define, would stretch you out like a spaghetti. That's called like spaghettification. Through your death, though your death would come before you reached singularity. But in 2012, a study in Nature suggests that quantum effects would cause the event horizon to act much like a wall of fire, instantly burning anyone to death. Now, I come out of the Christian religion, studied the Bible for decades. I don't talk about it. It's not important. But isn't it odd how Paul said that when you die, your soul, I think your spirit, I think he actually said it was soul, goes through a fire. And everything that is bad in your life, worthless, is burned off as dross, and then what is left on the other side is what your purity is. It's an interesting. Now it's a wall of fire, not this specification. Black holes do not suck. Yeah, they do. No, they don't. Suction is caused by pulling something into a vacuum, where the massive black hole definitely is not. Instead, objects fall into them. The first object considered to be a black hole is Cygnus X1. Rockets carrying Geiger counters discovered 8 new X-ray sources. In 1971, scientists detected radio emissions coming from Cygnus X1, and a massive hidden companion was found and identified as a black hole. I ain't writing this, folks. They are. You got to bitch right to them, not me. Cygnus X1 was the subject of a 1974 friendly wager between Stephen Hawking and a fellow physicist, Kip Thorne, with Hawking betting that the source was not a black hole. In 1990, he conceded defeat. Did y'all know that? Guess not. Miniature black holes may have formed immediately after the Big Bang. Well, I don't believe in the Big Bang, but hey, I'm not here to debate this. Rapidly expanding space may have squeezed some regions into tiny, dense black holes, less massive than the sun. Kind of goes in kind of the theory that we are in a black hole. If a star passes too close to a black hole, it can be torn apart. Astronomers estimate there are anywhere from 10 million to a billion stellar black holes with massive, roughly 3 times that of the sun in the Milky Way. And anyway, so there you go. You don't like it? Go right space.com. Folks, I wanted to bring this out. You see, everything man creates, even technology, is corrupted. I mean, we end up screwing up with it. I mean, it could be pristine, and after we get finished with it, it ain't so anymore. When you get into cultures, folks, and you know what I say, if you lay down with dogs, you're going to get fleas, you're going to scratch, and you're going to get bit. So Facebook has a weird freaking cult atmosphere about working there. And folks, you see, these cats, that's why I've told you no God has ever manifested itself to a man, because we are the gods. And these people came to realize that as a God, they were going to be better than us. That's what politicians elevate themselves to. That's why they live high in the hog when everyone else is eating nothing but the crap. It's true. You know, I keep references, but listen, man, when you get something in here that makes this it just got weird. You have to read the story. It really is weird. Hey, things are changing though. So us heathens, that's what they call us, pagans. Looks like at least the military is saying, yeah, okay. Yeah, there's more than one religion here. And I'm sure to the ire of many on the other side. But yeah, this is a really interesting story. It's called Heathery, the polytheistic religion, one that traces its origins to Norse myths that tell of the universe's creation and prophesied its destructive end, was at one time stifled following the end of the Viking Age and the subsequent spread of Christianity. Christianity is no different than any religion of the past. And listen, here's the problem with it. Here's the conundrum with these religions. You see how in the prophecies, they all go, oh, there's going to be a one world government, the Antichrist. Well, the problem is every religion, isn't that the foundation of it? To convert and proselytize the world, convert the world, make it the only religion? Self-fulfilling prophecies. But this shows you folks, we're changing. We're finally getting some recognition. Hey, Wall Street Journal, what's the rush? Now, I learned this trick decades ago. I know people who can get up and, man, they're out there running and they get there more. Oh, I was that way. Yeah, I was. I was a runner till my knees began to get to the point. After about the 5th surgery, I said, this is enough. But the point is, there's an actual benefit from getting up and slowly getting into the day. In fact, the study on this article says even those who do nothing at all but just stare out the window is more healthier for you than someone who is banging off the walls like a pinball. I know I'm dating myself. Here's one. Positive thinking is the key to a healthy old age. Optimists who believe their life has meaning walk faster, have stronger grips, and suffer less pain as they get older. And if you're dancing and you're singing, yeah, baby. And if you're doing your mirror exercises and you're stripping down and you're looking at that body, it's like Susan Vaughn, her song, Sophia Rising. Love that song. Going to get her on. Yeah, as she says, I've watched my hair turn from brown to gray. Yeah, watched and see my youth fade away. But it's okay. I'm still a fast walker. But the point is, folks, every one of us in here, I don't care what your age is, be thankful that you're growing old. Because if you got that mindset, baby, that you think that you're going to have that body you got right now, and you're in your 30s and your 20s, sunshine. It's going to drop. It's going to fade. And the thing about it is, if you start embracing the fact that you can get old enough, you can live happy. Russian church heads, smartphones could proceed the Antichrist. I swear this guy watched my videos. The Bloodline Invader series. And the one video that I did, Checkmate. We're worshiping what? Well, seems like he is now spreading the word that this is how the Antichrist will control humans through gadgets. I told you before, this AI, this thing, the internet, it's a deity. More powerful than any god of any religion. You know why? It's got the virtual whole human population worshiping it. Yeah, that's what worship is when you're completely focused in on this. And if you don't think the generations coming up behind us are not glued to this, they're worshiping a God they don't even recognize. And I believe that nature abhors a vacuum. I believe that there are enough spirit beings out there of such magnitude and proportion that they have been fighting to see who takes the sole throne on this one. But this cat, listen, man, if you haven't, dude, you need to watch the video. But I think you have something here. Here we go. 20,000 satellites for 5G to be launched, sending focused beams of intense microwave radiation over the entire Earth. I don't know. Call me a skeptic. Call me a conspiracy theorist. But that ain't good. You know, anytime I hear the word microwave and radiation used in either connecting to one another or in the same sentence, yeah, I'm smart enough to say, okay, that ain't good. But here we go, folks. This is one you really should. Health Impact News. Check this out. There is the Federal Aviation, I think it's the FAA, who approves the satellites, has come up and said, and given extraordinary permits and permission for these private companies to put up these satellites. Get this, folks. It says public attention about 5G has been focused on the plans of telecom companies to install millions of small cell towers on electrical utility poles, on public buildings and schools, on bus shelters, in public parks, anywhere they want, in national parks and on federally owned land. In local urban communities, there would be a cell tower approximately every 500 feet along every street. As bad as these small cell towers might seem from the standpoint of constant exposure to RF, radio frequency, radiation in close proximity to the source, perhaps even more alarming prospects will be the beaming of millimeter-length microwaves at the Earth from thousands of new communication satellites. The FCC gave approval to SpaceX on March 29, 2018, to launch, did y'all know this? 4,425 satellites into low orbit over the Earth. The total number of satellites that is expected to be put in low and high orbit by several companies will be 20,000 satellites. And it goes on to say, folks, this ain't good. We'll do a story on this one as a follow-up. Here you go. Scientists explored the seventh sense, not the sixth, now the seventh, the link between the immune system and the brain. They say the immune system is a marvel working to keep the organs in the body healthy. Until recently, though, scientists thought the immune system was less proactive with one particular organ, the brain or central nervous system. The understanding was that the two systems don't interact with each other or should not interact with each other, and they would only interact with each other in pathologies. It goes on to say this guy's with the Department of Neuroscience at the University of Virginia. So there is a problem. The immune cells will get into the brain and will attack the brain, and then you have pathologies such as multiple sclerosis. Did y'all know that? The immune system does not react well with our brains. And now they're beginning to find out, well, there actually is a link. The recent findings suggest that not only are the immune systems and the brain more closely linked than believed, but the immune system's sensory role for the brain is so key that Kepnes considers it a seventh sense after sight, sound, touch, smell, taste, and sense of movement. Yeah. And as I begin to close out on this, folks, you folks in Florida, this herpes that is spreading amongst the monkeys that are now, it's changed the whole ecosystem down there. They're multiplying, and it's going to be looking soon like a reserve everywhere. But they have a herpes virus that can be fatal to humans. And their population is expected to double by 2022. They're a group of feral monkeys, 200, rhesus macaws to be exact, the Silver Spring State Park. Folks, the point is there will be a jump. The fact that the rhesus monkey has this, it will jump to humans. And they have no idea what's going to happen after that. And finally, exorcism and demonic possession are new tools in the culture war. Yikes. Again, I have one thing to ask the Catholic Church. So what are the demons? Do they convert? What? They're going to react to a fake name that doesn't exist? What if it's a Muslim spirit possessing a Christian's body? I don't know. I digress. Okay, folks. Well, this was not actually planned, but it's been fun. Tomorrow we're going to do the Talking with Planets with Patrick, hoping that he's getting better and healthier. Tomorrow night we'll be with Brian over on Milky Way Weekly, and let's see, Thursday we'll figure that one out when we get there. So, folks, we live in a priceless time. We really do. There's plenty of opportunity to really get, down in the spirits about it. But actually, I think we're probably in the most exciting journey that any spirit could ever want. And I wish I could have had access to such thoughts as this that I discuss with you and you discuss with me, and in turn we have this community. It would have advanced me by years, but it is what it is. It's here, and who would have thought? Who would have thought? I'll tell you, as Brian says, be the frequency you want to be. Is that now? I want to receive. I like that. Thank you, Lost in Space. Planet Mechanic, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, you think about it, I guess we all are in a black hole. I don't know what really the experience is on the other side. I tell people all the time, if you really want to find out if there's real spirits, go down in the darkest place you can do, stand there, and start demanding that they start manifesting. Now, if you see one manifesting, stop and be the scientist. If you've got a spirit manifesting before you, now there are orbs that are around people. We have them all the time. People sending in videos. And I think those are the ones that are with me when I'm dancing, dancing in the moonlight. Anyway, the point is, if you're in a dark room, find a cave, whatever. The best way to overcome this fear is demand them, invoke them by their name, and demand that they manifest before you. Now, I know some people say, oh, don't do that. Yeah, do it. Because here's the thing. I want to know from that spirit, how did you transmute matter into physical material? And more importantly, how did you take a photon and be able to manipulate it to your existence? I don't give a damn whether you're good or bad. Screw that. Kiss my ass. I don't care about that. That's their thing, not mine. I want to know how you do it. You see, isn't it just knowledge? And no matter what their form, their shape, it's going to be an interrogation with me. I demand Lucifer appear. I demand Lucifer appear right now. You see, ain't going to happen. Don't exist. I can invoke it, and go through all the rituals. And the fact of the matter is, folks, if these spirits exist, and I'm not saying they don't, I want to know the science. I don't care their theology. I don't care their philosophy. I don't even care their sexuality. What I am curious about is, how do you do that? I mean, you're on the other side. How are you amassing energy enough to transcend multi-dimensions, multiple universes? Yeah. Now that I'd like to know. And then they can go have their, whatever their beliefs are. But Brian Knight, yes, it does. I'll show you, Lucifer. Well, in a sense, I guess every teacher could be Lucifer, because isn't Lucifer that which brings knowledge? I guess in essence, any teacher in the pulpit would be Lucifer. I don't know. Something to think about. I know I'm going to get the emails, and I can see the thumb down going. Oh, folks, lighten up. Come on. All right. Thank you, folks. We were going to read today, but I guess the spirits had something else in mind. Yeah. I had this chance for all of us to come together and have a few laughs, and drink some tea, and I don't know, whatever the time of the world is over where you are. Folks, I appreciate you. If love is a word that could be expressing gratefulness and gratitude, then that would be a word I would be saying to all of you. Thank you. You have enriched my life immensely. And I look forward to these days where we can get together and just chat and have fun and, just rock and roll. It's, or we can actually play classical. I don't care. Little Bach, little Beethoven, maybe the blues. How about that? How about some soul music? Little Marvin Gaye. Love Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye's my man. Anyway, hey, y'all are the best. Be good. FJ, thank you. Wherever you are, whatever part of the world, whatever your circumstance is, I just speak favor over it. Those of you who are dealing with things, we all deal with them. I just speak strength into your life. And remember, you're on a journey, and, good or bad, roller coaster goes up and down both ways, doesn't it? And some of them go around and around, but hey, all right. I'll see you, let's see, tomorrow. Yeah, same time with Patrick Garrett, Talk with the Planets. Got your questions? Send them to us. And the best time is your time. Love yourselves. And I'll guarantee this, folks, people will seek you out. All right. Let it shine, folks. Let it shine. Let it shine. All right. Bye-bye.